Truly yours. Truly spoke.
Ghostface, in love.
What they want.
Ghostface, in love.
Check.
Ghostface.
So James Toney says that Errol Spence can't spell the word fight. You know, I was watching a little interview with Hitman Hearns and the kid from Fight Hype was asking him who he was asking him and he was asking his son who would win between the Spence and Terrence Crawford fight, and you know Hearns was being modest and being realistic. He said, I'm not too familiar with either one of those guys' style, so I really can't tell you an honest opinion on who I think will win the fight. And James Toney jumps in there. He's like, Terrence Crawford, you know. Errol Spence can't even spell the word fight. I'm telling you, you know, Terrence Bud Crawford. James lights out Toney, man. I feel like, first of all, everybody is entitled to have their opinion. You know, I look at James Toney as, um, you know, a legend in the game, a legend in the boxing sport. Um, but at the end of the day, I don't agree with with your concept. You know what I'm saying? I feel like you just off, and I feel like I can remember when James Toney fought Evander Holyfield, and he fought like the worst, the oldest version, the worst version, you know, a shell of himself version of Evander Holyfield. I can't even remember how that fight ended. I think he knocked out Holyfield or he won by decision, but it wasn't in any kind of dominating fashion. And Holyfield was way past his prime. And at the end of that fight, at the interview, I remember James Toney was like, you know, he gave Holyfield his credit, but at the same time, he tried to make it look like he beat the prime version of Holyfield. Like, I don't want to hear nobody saying that Holyfield wasn't Holyfield no more. Holyfield was still Holyfield, and you know, like it was like he was saying, you can't take away my victory by saying the fact that Holyfield is out of his prime. And to me, it's like you wasn't doing Holyfield no service by trying to act like he wasn't way past his prime. You would have been better off just saying he's a hell of a fighter and he gave me a good fight, and in his prime he probably would have whooped my ass. You know what I'm saying? And left it at that. Like, don't act like you beat a prime version of Holyfield when you didn't beat a prime version of Holyfield. Like, the Holyfield in his prime would have destroyed James Toney. You know what I'm saying? Fuck, Red Jones Jr. just destroyed James Toney. To me, James Toney, you know, was a great fighter, but he was one of the first fighters I remember having like discipline issues with his weight, where I would see him look in shape for one fight, and then out of nowhere he would just blow up and put on all this extra weight and be sluggish and sloppy, and not the James Toney that I thought he could be in his you know, if he actually had trained and been conditioned and been disciplined. So I mean, I ain't gonna say nothing real negative about James Toney. I just think he just off. You know what I'm saying? I think he just way off. To say Spence can't spell the word fight is just ridiculous. If you favor Terrence Crawford over Spence, I mean, cool, you can say that. But to look at Spence and see him fighting a Danny Garcia coming off of a layoff, you take the accident out of the equation. Say if he just would have took a year off, you know what I'm saying? If he just would have took a break and came back off of a break, Danny Garcia was still active. You know what I'm saying? Danny Garcia had just came off of two. I want to say two. I'm not even exactly 100% for correct. Correct me in the comments. But I know he had knocked out Adrian Granados, and I know he had just fought and won and dominated Ivan Redkach, who is, just he's another southpaw. He's not Errol Spence by a long shot, but at the same time, Danny Garcia fighting Ivan Redkach and then having a perfect time in between fights to come and fight Errol Spence, who had just been off of a layoff from an accident. You can't sit there and just take away from Danny Garcia and act like Danny Garcia isn't known for being a great counter puncher. He hasn't had tough, close fights with Sean Porter and tough, close fights with Keith Thurman. I mean, nobody said Danny Garcia was just, the pound for pound best of the best, but you still got to give him his credit. And for him to come and fight Errol Spence and get dominated um, in such a practical way, with the jab, you just can't look at that and take anything away from Danny Garcia, and you can't take away anything from Errol Spence and say Errol Spence is not a good fighter. You know what I'm saying? And then turn around and give Terrence Bud Crawford, a plot for beating a version of Carol Brook that, no matter what you want to say, is not the best version of Carol Brook. So to me, it's just one of those things where I can't remember who I was watching, but they said James Toney just sounded like he was a hater, like an old bitter old man that just had that mentality where he's just gonna hate on the young kid that's getting it now. And if that's the case, man, to me, that's a damn shame. That's a shame to put in that kind of work in the game, get old, then look at the next coming generation and, not be able to support them. Like you didn't go through no hard times, and you didn't go through times where you wasn't getting supported. Like, say for example, if I did this YouTube boxing thing for whatever, another couple of years or whatever, which I'm not. I'm finna be like famous AAA and dip out on y'all. But imagine if I did that, and then I look back and seen the next ones coming up, and I just hated all on their game, hated everything they was doing. You know what I'm saying? To me, that's just some lame shit. Like, how many damn comments I done looked through on my own page and seen people just, saying all kind of negative shit where I just had to, smile and be like, these, people gonna do what they gonna do. If they not hating on you, you're not doing something right. But it's one of those things where you had people hating on you. You get to a certain point and level in your life where you see the next young up and coming person coming up. You mean to tell me that your mentality is to join the haters instead of saying, hey man, look, no matter what nobody say, man, you do your thing. You making everybody proud. You taking care of your family. You doing the best you can do. Ain't nobody perfect. And you know what I'm saying? I think you a great fighter. Do your thing. Nobody, like, I can't look back and be like, hey man, the next YouTube kid coming up, you know what I'm saying, who doing some old school YouTube. Because when I first started watching YouTube, it was old school shit. Motherfuckers just had a camera and in a room and they just would talk. It wasn't nothing edited, wasn't fancy shit, wasn't music, wasn't nothing. It was just somebody sitting in their room just telling you their thoughts. And that's what YouTube to me was really supposed to be about. And it just evolved into some bullshit just like everything else does. But at the same time, when some young kid come up that's grinding on his own little hustle, just trying to express and be creative and do his thing, if I was to look back and just throw some hate on him, be like, oh, this little young dude, man, he can't even spell YouTube. I mean, that shit lame as hell for me to be like. I'm gonna be like, look, man, I see what you doing, kid. I see what you doing. Hey, salute to you, man. You know what I'm saying? Because you're supposed to be passing the torch from one legend to another legend. If you want to consider yourself a great and consider yourself a legend, then who is you to sit there and hold the torch until the flame go out and then take the fucking torch home and put it on your damn mantle and sit in your fucking rocking chair and look at it and then hate all the young kids that's coming up trying to get something. That shit, I can't comprehend it. These motherfuckers be acting so goddamn lame these days. It's like everybody I fucking come across in the game, one way, form, or fashion, just be on some bullshit. And ain't nobody be on no real shit. And the ones that be on real shit, you know what I'm saying? They start to piecing out after a while because they just see how much bullshit they got to go through. They say, man, fuck it, man. You know what I'm saying? Like famous AAA. He just like, man, I ain't even interested in talking about boxing no more. I wonder why. Salute, 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 salute. Nocturnal Thoughts, I'm out.